Good morning, students. Today, the topic which we are going to discuss is the curriculum development process of curriculum development. Now, the concept is usually considered as incomplete. The curriculum development is a written and a spoken concept, but the curriculum developed by curriculum development we means a continuous process which goes on continuously. Now, subject name is curriculum development and the topic name is process of curriculum development. Now, the learning objectives of today's topic are to know the concept of curriculum development means the student will able to know that this is the concept of curriculum development, and by curriculum development we means a process that is a continuous. To be acquainted with the meaning of curriculum development means you will be able to be know what do you mean by the meaning of curriculum development? Identify every steps to be followed in the process of curriculum development means the steps that has to be followed when we are developing the curriculum, and the process of the curriculum development will be known by you. Be familiar about the criteria of content of selection in the process of curriculum development, how the which content should be selected and which should not be selected. What was the criteria of content selection in the process of curriculum development? You will be familiar after we will complete this topic. Now, curriculum development is a specialized task which requires systematic thinking about the objectives to be achieved. It means that the curriculum development is a specialized task. Now, what do you mean by a specialized task? A specialized task means a task in which some special things to be considered, some special experts should be considered, specialized person should be considered, which requires systematic thinking. And when they are undergoing the process of making the curriculum or developing the curriculum, then what they has to do, they should require systematic thinking. What changes should be made, why these changes should be made, and this should be a systematic process. About the objectives to be achieved, what are the objectives which we want to achieve through the process of curriculum development, whether we want to change our objectives of the teaching learning process, and which objectives has to be reframed, and which objectives we want to achieve after the completion of that curriculum. Learning experiences to be provided means which learning experiences will be provided by the teacher during the delivery of teaching learning process. Means the learning experiences, the experiences which uh, gain the students knowledge, means the student will be helpful by learning these experiences. They will able to learn a concept, they will able to gain a knowledge about that particular subject. So we are saying that the learning experiences to be provided by the teacher during the teaching learning process. Evaluation of changes brought out by the curricular activities. Now, what will be the evaluation process or evaluation of changes brought out by the curricular activities? Means the curricular activities, those who will be designed by the teacher or the curriculum filmmaker during the teaching learning process, how the evaluation of these changes will be done, and so on. So the curriculum development is a very broad term which not only included the objectives which we want to achieve, but also include the learning experiences which we want to provide to the student during the teaching learning process, and what will be the evaluation system. To arrive at a thoughtfully planned and dynamically conceived curriculum, the following steps to be followed. Now, what is that? When we are saying we are undergoing a process of developing a curriculum, we are undergoing a process where the development of the curriculum is to be made to that the curriculum that which we want to develop should be in a thoughtful, planned manner. Now, the steps to be followed is assessment of educational needs, means we have to assess what are the educational needs of that particular time. Formulation of objectives, what will be the objectives on which the and what objectives we want to fulfill after the completion of this topic. Selection and organization of the content, which content has to be selected and how that content is to be organized so that it can be in front of the learners. Selection and organization of learning experiences, what learning experiences will be provided by the teacher during the teaching learning process. The teacher will select those learning experiences that he wants to give to his learner, and he will organize that learning experiences. Now the end and evaluation, what will be the evaluation process and how the evaluation will be done. Now, assessment of educational needs. Now, what do you mean by assessment of educational needs? By assessment of educational needs, we means that curriculum are framed to enable students to learn socially desired behavior. Now, what is that? That why we are giving education to the students. We are framing the curriculum in such a way that the students will be able to learn to adjust to the social desired behavior, the desired behavior which the society wants from them. Because the background of students differ, means every student come from a different background on the basis of society, on the basis of the economic conditions, and the area from which he is coming. Because the background of students differ, means every student that is coming to class has a different background. It is essential to diagnose the gap. Now what they are saying, that it is essential, it is very important to identify the gaps from which every student is coming, deficiencies which are there, and variations in these backgrounds, and what are the deficiency where the students are lacking, and what are the variations. Need assessment is an important first step in determining what the curriculum should be given for a given population during a particular period of time. Now what is that need assessment? Why we are in the need of assessing the curriculum, why we are in the need of evaluating the curriculum. Need of assessing a assessment of curriculum is a very first step in determining what the curriculum should be. Means the curriculum development will be made only when we able to assess that these things should be included in the curriculum. If we are not in the framework that these should be included in the curriculum, these should things should not be included in the curriculum, then the process of knowing that these are the important things that must be included in the curriculum, it can be done with the help of assessment of the curriculum. So what we are saying, that assessment, need of the curriculum assessment is the first step in determining the curriculum development should be given for a given population during a particular time of period of time. It means what? That the curriculum, the assessment of the curriculum should be according to the particular period of a time. We should therefore identify the target students and prepare their profile. These are two means of need assessment. Now, what they are saying, that identify the target students means on which we want the desired changes, and prepare their profile. And we have to prepare the profile of the students on which we are thought of bringing the changes in the student. These there are two means of need assessment. First, we assess educational needs through specially mounted surveys. Now, what they are saying, that when we want to develop the curriculum, when we want to reframe the curriculum again, the first thing we usually use is to get the data by doing a survey. We go to the field at the target group, means where we want to bring the changes in the curriculum. For example, if we want to bring the changes in the curriculum of the primary section, then that primary section is our the target group, and study the area where education inputs are required. And during that period, we will study the areas where educational inputs are required. Besides educational needs, we also collect background information about the target groups. Now, if through the survey, we will get the information about the educational needs of that particular area, about the students, those who are studying in that particular area. Again, they are saying that not only we have to collect the educational needs of that particular area, but we also have to collect the background information about the target group, from where they are coming, what are their economic status, what is their social status. The need assessed through field studies are known as felt needs. Now, the needs assessed means the assessment of the needs on the basis of which the curriculum has to be developed. Through field studies means when we go into the field and get the data are known as felt needs. The second means of need assessment is the analysis of existing data. Now, what is the existing data? Those things which are prevailing, such as Education Commission reports. Now, what are the existing data? The examples of those existing data are Educational Commission reports, the reports which are submitted by the commissions to the government and to the policy makers from time to time, and these policies and these reports are related to the field of education. Example, National Policy of Education 1986. Now this is what the existing data, and we will analyze that existing data for the curriculum development. Means the curriculum development will not only be done on the basis of the situations which we are getting at the field, but also by analyzing the existing data which is prevalent or available to us. Now, the policy documents can provide useful guidance for framing curriculum. Now, the policy document means the policy makers, those who have framed the policies, are very useful in guiding or monitoring or changing the curriculum. Similarly, every institution has its objective to be achieved. Every institution that has been formed that has some objectives. Because of achieving this objective, that particular institution has been formed. The priority areas can be identified from the secondary sources. Now, the priority areas, the important areas which we can be identified, we can find out that these are the priorities areas, and these priority areas can be find out by the secondary sources, means the existing data that the national policies on education, different national curriculum framework, all these will be helpful for the as the secondary data for the curriculum makers for the development of the curriculum. The need assessed through the secondary sources are known as observed need. Considering the potential and limitations of the education system, that is what the education system can do to achieve meet the needs of the target group. Now, considering the potentials and limitations of education system, we should know these are the limitations of our education need, and that is what the education system can do to achieve meet the needs of the target group. Means we have to make our education system in such a way that it should be able to achieve the needs of the target group. You can prepare a list of priority area. What are the different priority areas? What are the important areas known as real needs? What are the real needs of the students of the target group of that area after through analysis of the felt and observed need. Now, observed need are the existing data. The felt needs are the when the we go to the survey, we go to the field and do the survey and get some collection of data or the information. Now, felt needs, observed needs, and the real needs. Now, what is that felt needs? When we go to the area, to the field and collect some data. Observe needs with the existing data or the existing policies, and what are the real needs? What are the actual needs of the learner? So, felt needs and observed needs, both these needs will be helpful for fulfilling the real needs. Means real needs will when be fulfilled or achieved when we have analyzed the felt needs and the observed needs all together. Now, formulating educational objective, how the education objectives should be framed. A comprehensive list of objectives means a detailed list of objectives, that these are the objectives that we want to achieve. We have to frame or develop a list, or a detailed study should be made that can be the objectives in the form of real education needs, means the real needs of the society, of the individual, for developing the curriculum, that these will be the needs, and to fulfill, to achieve these needs, we have to reframe the curriculum, we have to develop the curriculum. We have to transform the needs into aims and objectives. Means there will be a transformation of curriculum according to the needs. What are the needs of the learner, and that needs will transform into aims and objectives of the curriculum. The purpose of objectives highlights their real role in curriculum development. Since objectives specify expected outcome, that why we want to frame the objective. We are framing the objectives because the objectives will help us to specify that these are the expected outcomes that we want from our learner, and what how these objective outcomes can be achieved. When we will frame our objective, we need to give serious thoughts to the following points while formatting the educational objectives. We have to give stress to the following points. Matching. The objective should be related to the broad goals of education from which they are derived. Means the matching should be the objective which we are going to frame for the particular curriculum should be related to the broad goals of education. Now, the broad goals of education should be kept in mind while we are formulating the objectives for a particular curriculum or the syllabus. For example, the objective of understanding of certain scientific facts should enable the students to apply the knowledge gained in particular problems. The point of emphasis here is that attainment of the objectives should lead the student to attain the overall goal of education. Now, what is the overall goal of education? The overall goal of education is the all round development of a learner or a student. Now, when we are framing the objectives, it should be framed in such a way that we are able to attain the overall goal of education, that is through every curriculum. The students will that curriculum will help the students in for overall development of their personalities or individualities. Now, worth related to whether attaining an objective has value in the life of the student in the present or the future. Means whether that curriculum has some value in the life of the student or not, in the context of the present or in the future. If the curriculum has no value in the life of the student, then that curriculum should be omitted from the slave curriculum of any courses. So we have to omit that part, which as we think that this part is having no value to in the life of the students. Now, since our knowledge base is continuously changing, now knowledge is continuously changing, that there is a continuous process of changement in the field of knowledge. The objective needs to be updated. As the knowledge is changing, the objectives need to be updated from time to time. Modified changes can be made or eliminated, means they can be removed to improve the quality of education and of human life. And why we are updating them, why we are modifying them, why we are eliminating these objectives, because our main purpose is to improve the quality of education and of human life. And as the process of knowledge is continuously changing, so the needs to be updated, modified or eliminated on the basis of changes that has been occurring in the field of knowledge. The objective should be useful, means the objective should be framed in such a way that they should be useful for the students in their life. Meaningful, they should be meaningful and relevant to the needs of the student. Means the objective which we are framing for that particular curriculum should be such that they should be useful, meaningful and relevant, so that the needs of the students can be easily achieved. Now, the third one is wording. The statement of the objective should be worded properly so that student can easily understand the intended outcomes. Now, what is that? When we are framing the objective, that framing of the objective should be in a simple manner so that every student can understand that these are the objectives of that particular curriculum, and these objectives are framed to achieve those outcomes. Now that student can easily understand, means the student can easily understand the intended outcomes, that this change will be there after the completion of these objectives. Now, appropriateness, all objectives should be derived from and cater to the needs and interests of the students. What is that? That all statements, all objectives should be designed or to be derived in such a way that it should help us to satisfy the need and interest of the student. Any ambiguity in the statement of an objective may create confusion in the minds of both the teacher and the students. It means that if the objectives are not stated clearly, then what will happen? It will create a confusion in the minds of both the teacher who is trying to achieve those objectives and the students. In such a case, the process of curriculum development education will lose direction when we are not framing our objectives according to the needs and interests of the student. Then what will happen? That the process of curriculum development education will lose direction, that our education system will lose a direction because our curriculum is not framed accordingly to the needs and interests of the students. Now, logical grouping. Now, what do you mean by logical grouping? Logical grouping means sometimes the objectives lack proper organization, coherence, especially when the learning experience and then evaluation process are decided. Now, what is that? Logical grouping means when we are presenting our content in the logic form, that this is the reason of including those things in the curriculum. Sometimes the objective lacks proper organizational, means there is a lacking of objectives in a proper organization, coherence, especially when the learning experiences. Now when they met with, that will happen when the learning experiences which the learner is getting during the teaching learning process and the evaluation process are decided, then only that will happen. The objective should be grouped according to some common idea or in terms of domain. Means the objective should be designed, should be framed to achieve both three domains of our, that is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. Proper grouping of these objectives will help plan and develop a more meaningful curriculum in terms of its content and evaluation. What they are saying, when a proper grouping of objectives will be done, means in a logical manner, that grouping will help the curriculum makers to develop a curriculum which will be meaningful to everyone in terms of its content, what the content of that curriculum and the evaluation basis. Now, revision. The objectives required periodic revision because student needs realm of knowledge, instructional strategies, etc. change at a very fast pace these days. Now, what is that? That it is not that we have framed some objective and it will be remain for always. No, it cannot be done. Why? Because the needs of the students are changing, the knowledge is changing, the instructional strategies that are adopted by the teacher are also changing at a very rapid fast pace. Then what will happen? That changes are going at very fast pace. Then what will happen? We have to revise our objectives from time to time. A revision of objectives will help a recurring impact on the curriculum and make it an ongoing process. Means changes will be done in the curriculum. The curriculum should have the flexibility to accommodate changes in the society. Now, what is that? That a curriculum should be flexible. It should not be rigid. If it will be rigid, then it will not able to accommodate the changes which are made in the society. And we have to change, we have to update our curriculum according to the needs of the society. Now, criteria for content selection. How the content should be selected when we are framing our curriculum. content and objectives are interdependent. That is the content, and on the basis of that content we have to frame our objectives. That after going through this content, the student will able to learn these things, and in that way we will able to achieve these objectives. So content and objectives are interdependent on each other and constitute a major dimensions of curriculum development. And content and the objectives plays a major dimension in the field of curriculum development. Generally, content refer to subject matter, the matter which should be delivered by the syllabus or the curriculum, or the component of facts, that these are the facts, concepts, generalization, principles, and theories. By content, we imply learning experiences besides subject matter. Now, what is that? That in that content, we not only includes the subject matter that has to be taught by the teacher, but in that we also employ in content the learning experiences which the learner will get after the completion or during the process of teaching learning process. The curriculum content should enable students to gain and apply knowledge in day-to-day life. Now, what is that? That the curriculum content that has been selected by the teacher will help the students to gain and apply knowledge. That the knowledge which they have gained and can apply that knowledge into their day life. The content selection should contribute to students' knowledge, means the content which has been selected by the teacher will help to students in the gaining of the knowledge, in the addition of their knowledge, or understanding of the realities of human life. Means that knowledge will help the student in their day-to-day life. Now, content selection should be based on knowledge, content, and the knowledge. Means everything should be decided in that area when we are talking about the content selection. At the macro level, at the bigger level. The criteria for the selection of content should be based on the socio-political and educational philosophy of the society or the nation. Means when we are talking about at the broader level, at the bigger level, at that level, the criteria for the selection of content that this should be included in the curriculum, it should be on the basis of socio political, means society, political conditions, and education philosophy of the society, means whether the philosophy of idealism, nationalism, pragmatism, which philosophy is guiding our society or the nation. At the micro level, means at the smaller level, the criteria should suit the specific objective set for uh, for the meeting the student need. When we are talking about the macro level, at a bigger picture, at a broader level, the selection of the content is based on the socio-political and educational philosophy of the society. But when we are talking about the micro level, the criteria for the selection of the content should be such that the content of the syllabus or the curriculum are such designed in such a way that it should suit the specific objective set for the meeting the student need. That these are the needs of the students, and this content will help to meet the needs of the students. Now, self-sufficiency. This criteria help the student to attain maximum self-sufficiency and to in the most economical manner. Means they are self-sufficient, and it is not only that they will be attain maximum self-sufficiency, but it is that in the manner in which they are getting the self-sufficiency, and the manner in which they are getting the self-sufficiency is related to in a most economic manner. That is, economy of teaching efforts, means the teacher is using a teacher, different teaching efforts will be made by the teacher keeping in mind the economic conditions of that area. Student efforts, what students are doing to gain those objectives or to learning that particular concept. and extent of general abilities of student matter. In other words, we can say that the content should help the student become more reliant and more self-sufficient. Means the selection of the content should be such that the content will help the students to become self-reliant and self-sufficient. Now, significance. The content to be learned should be significant, important in terms of contribution to the basic ideas, concept, etc. in particular learning abilities. Means the content which the student want to be learned should be important. Validity. Validity relates to the authenticity of the content selected. Whether this content which has been selected has some validity or not. The content selection should be valid to the external that it flows from and support the goals and objectives of the curriculum. Now, what do you mean the validity? Means the content should be designed for which the subject has been taught. For example, if I am selecting you the curriculum development paper, then the content should be according to the topic, that is curriculum development. Then only we will say that that content is valid. Now, what is that? Content selected should be valid to the extent that it flows from and support the goals and objectives of the curriculum. That these are the goals and objectives of the curriculum, and these goals and that content will help us to achieve these goals and objectives of the curriculum. The content should be usable in day-to-day life. Means the content selection of the content should be such that every individual, every learner can use that knowledge in their day-to-day life. Now, next one is interest. Another deciding factor of content selection is that the content should suit the personality, example, attitude, interests, etc., and intellectual capabilities, mental level, aptitude, etc. of the student. Now, what is that? The interest, in which area the student has the interest. That is also a very important deciding factor in the selection of the content for the particular curriculum. Now, content selection is that content should suit the personality, means the personality of the learner. It should suit the attitude of the learner, interest of the learner, and the intellectual capabilities, that is their mental level and their aptitude for the particular subject. It is like that the student interests are transitory. The criteria should be weighed and adjusted to provide for student maturity, prior knowledge, experiences, etc. Now, the criteria should be weighed means given importance and adjusted to provide for student maturity, how the student will mature after learning that content. Prior knowledge, what is the prior knowledge, prior information among the students regarding that topic, or the experiences, what are the different experiences which the learner is getting after learning or after going through that topic or the content. Now, utility. What do you mean by the utility? The content which has been selected should be useful for the learner. The utility criteria is concerned with the usefulness of the content, means the content should be useful for the learner. The usefulness can be interpreted in different ways. For example, the content learned by the student should be useful in his her job situation. Means the knowledge which he is getting during the teaching learning process in the classes, that knowledge should be helpful for the student to use that knowledge in his her job situations. Learn ability. This criteria relates the optimal placement and appropriate organization and sequencing of content. The selection content should be out of the range of student experiences, means the content which we have selecting should not be out of the range of student in experiences, that these experiences are not the students are getting, and only those content should be selected which is in the range of the students experiences, what the students are experiencing, intellectual abilities, etc. In other words, the content should be such that it can be perceived, understood, and assimilated by the learner for whom it is intended. Feasibility. Now, feasibility as a criteria of content selection compile curriculum planners to analyze and examine the content in the light of time and resources. Now, what is feasibility? When a curriculum content has been selection, that that it compiles curriculum planners to analyze and examine the content, means they are analyzing and examining the content of the curriculum in the light of time, that is it is the sufficient time in which the teacher will able to complete that curriculum first thing, and what are the different resources that are available for the teacher and to the student to understand that curriculum, to gain the knowledge on that particular subject. And resources available to the student, cost involved, contemporary socio-political climate, etc. Despite the fact that there are several options available, means there are so many options are available, the student do have some limitations as far the pace of learning is concerned, that so many resources are available on which the student can increase their pace of learning, but there are some limitations also as far the pace of the learning is concerned by the students. Now, organizing the content, how the content should be organized. One, the content is identified, means you have selected the content, it need to be appropriately organized, it should be organized in a well defined manner. If the curriculum is a plan for learning as it needs it, the content should be logically organized so that it facilitates the attainment of educational objective. We have selected the curriculum, but what we have to do, we have to organize that curriculum in a logical manner so that we are able to achieve our educational objectives. One of the most potent factors that determine the way learning take place is the organization of the curriculum. Means what is that? The way we learn, how much we learn depends also on the way the curriculum has been organized. If a curriculum has not been systematically organized in a proper way, it should lack direction. It will lack the direction in which the objectives can be achieved, and it should not help attain the objectives on which it was supposed to do. Now, if a curriculum has not been systematically organized, it shall lack direction and should not help attain the objectives on which it has been uh, curriculum organization is both a difficult and a complex task. It demands a thorough understanding of the teaching and learning process. Now, it demands a thorough understanding of the teaching and learning process, how the teaching and learning process will continue. The main problem of curriculum are lack of sequence, means the way in which the curriculum has been presented. Continuity, it should have a continuity, and integration of the curriculum should be included in the curriculum. Now, sequencing in the way the curriculum can be presented, or it can be presented in a proper sequence manner. Establishing a sequence in curriculum means putting the content and material into some sort of order of succession, means the content should be presented in a proper order. There are some general principles used in arranging the content in the most appropriate sequence, means we have to arrange the content in the proper sequence, and there are some principles which had been designed that the content should be presented in such a way. For this, you have to follow certain teaching norms, such as moving from known to unknown, means the content should be presented before the learner in a way where the content is moving from known to unknown, from simple to complex, and from concrete to abstract. The content can be arranged according to the period or historical development, such as ancient period, the medieval period, and the modern period. Means the content can be arranged in a sequential manner, and that sequential manner will be in such a way that the content can be presented in from the pre-independence to post-independence. Beside these norms or principle, it is the resourcefulness of the curriculum planner to arrange the content in such a way that it facilitates student learning. And that is important that the curriculum should be sequencing in such a way that it facilitates student learning. Now, continuity. There should be a continuity in the manner in which the curriculum has been presented. The curriculum should provide for a progressively more demanding performances, more complex material to deal with it, a greater depth and breadth of ideas to understand, to relate, to apply, and so on. And these should be the basis for providing for a progressively curriculum. Such cumulative learning can apply to thinking, attitude, and skills. The student should be provided with experiences step by step, means the student will able to get the experiences from the teaching learning process in a particular step by step, leading to the examination of a more complex form of criticism and analysis of data. For example, a student of grade 11 may learn the concept of interdependence among family members. He may encounter the same concept in a higher grade, but with references to interdependence of nations, political decisions, etc. The content of curriculum should provide for continuity in learning, means those things they have learned in the previous classes will able to learn the concept again in the further classes and prevent loss through forgetting. You know that disjointed content does not lead the student to the dissemination, that is the attainment of the objective. Now, integration, it is recognized that learning is more effective when facts and principle curriculum development form one field to be related to another, especially when applying knowledge. Means when we are applying the knowledge, the application of the knowledge has been done. Curriculum planners should attempt to integrate the curriculum, means they should integrate the curriculum by similarly establish relationship between various subjects taught to the target group, means by simultaneously establish relationship between various subjects that has been taught to the target learners. One method can combine related areas into a broad field, for example combining geography and history into social studies, correlating two subjects as mathematics and science as another attempt to integrate content. It should be clear from the preceding discussion, from the previous discussion, that the curriculum organization should protect and preserve both the logic of the subject matter and the psychological sequence of the learning experiences, means the way in which the subject matter has been presented to the learner. In the logical organization, the planner organizes content according to certain rules to make it more manageable. In economics, for example, the content of supply and demand are central to the content, means are important focused area when we are talking about the content or the curriculum of the economics. Without these, means without the concept of supply and demand, the concept of capital, labor, and market cannot be grown. The psychological organization of the content help one understand how an individual might learn it, means how the student will learn a particular concept. Content should be organized in such a way that the concrete experience content is experienced before the abstract content, means the learning principle should be from concrete to abstract. Selecting learning experiences, we shall begin this subsection by clarifying the term learning experiences, how this term has been used quite frequently in this and other units of the course, means the selection of the learning process experiences so that the learner will attain more knowledge. The term connects learning activity which shape the learner orientation to the content and ultimately their understanding of it, how they are learning. In essence, it refers to the teaching learning process, how they are going through the teaching learning process, the methods follow, the methods which has been followed by the teacher during the teaching learning process, and the activities planned to facilitate the teaching learning process, and what are the different activities which are planned by the teacher to so that they can facilitate, they can bring improvement in the teaching learning process. Now, various teaching methods are used by teachers such as lecture, discussion, project, demonstration, etc. for giving the learning experiences to the learner. Similarly, there are various learning activities such as viewing film, conducting experiences, undertaking field trips, taking notes, working on assignments, participating in discussion means everything which the teacher is using for giving the for making the learning that are giving experiences to the learner. The teaching methods generate learning activities. The teaching methods and learning activities are two sides of the same coin. Means the teaching activities, methods which has been employed by the teacher, and the learning activities which has been organized by the teacher. Some curriculum planners differentiate content from experiences. They should remember that the content and experiences do not exist independent of one another. On the contrary, both the content and learning experiences comprise the overall curriculum. Means we cannot separate the learning experiences from the content. Both these things, the content and the learning experiences, comprises the overall curriculum. Evaluating the curriculum. Evaluation is made to gauge the extent to which the objectives of the curriculum are achieved, whether we are able to achieve the objectives of our curriculum or not. We have to make a evaluation through implementation of the curriculum, and this can be made only through when we are implementing the curriculum. We can see the relationship between evaluation and objectives. Means what is that? Whether we are able to achieve this objectives or not, we have to make a evaluation. So we are saying that there is a relationship between evaluation and objective. The objectives of curriculum are stated the way of evaluating the attainment of the objective should be decided. Means the objective of curriculum should be stated in such a way that in this way we will evaluate the attainment of the objective. The content and learning experiences are there in order to achieve the objectives. Means the content and the learning experiences are uh, presented in such a way so that we are able to achieve the objectives. And also with reference to the possible means of evaluation. The effectiveness of any educational program is judged by its potentiality to realize its goal and objectives. The extent to which the objectives are achieved can be assessed through appropriate evaluation process. Means whether we have achieved those objectives or not can be judged with the appropriate evaluation process that we will select. The evaluation of any purposeful activity should have certain characteristics. The important are as follow: consistency with the objectives of the curriculum, sufficient diagnostic values, comprehensive validity, continuity. Now, these are the references. In this particular topic, we have understood about the curriculum development, the process of curriculum development. Now, and for further reading on today's topic, you can refer these references. Now, now let us discuss some MCQs. The dash to be learned should be significant in terms of its contributions to the basic idea in particular learning abilities. A is content, B objectives, C fixed, or the D topics. Now, so the correct answer is content. Second one is development is a specialized task which require systematic thinking about the objectives to be achieved brought out by the curricular activities. The options are curriculum, syllabus, C content, and the D topic. The correct answer is curriculum. Curriculum are framed to enable students to learn dash desired behavior. The options are A socially, B economically, C physically, and the D emotionally, and the correct answer is socially. In dash, the objective should be related to the broad goals of education from which they are derived. A matching, C selection, C appropriate, or the D word, and the correct answer is matching. Fifth one, dash relates to whether attaining an objective has value in the life of the student in the present or future. The options are A worth, B matching, C selection, or the D appropriate, and the correct answer is worth, that is the option A. Six, the effectiveness of any dash program is judged by its potential to realize its goals and objectives, and the options are A educational, B objective, C achievement, and the D topic, and the correct answer is option A, that is educational. Seventh one is the dash require periodic revision because student needs realm of knowledge, instructional strategies, etc. change at a very fast pace these days. A. Achievement. B. Objectives. C. Learning. Or the D1 is the theory. And the correct answer is B. Objectives. The eighth one, the dash content should enable students to gain and apply knowledge in day-to-day life. A. Curriculum, B. Syllabus, C. Theory, or the D. Learning, and the correct answer is curriculum. The dash selected should contribute to the student knowledge or understanding of the reality of human life. A. Content, B. Syllabus, C. Theory, or the D1 is learning, and the correct answer is option A, that is content. 10th, in the dash organization, the planning organizer content according to certain rules to make it more manageable. A. Sequence. B. Logical. C. Order. Or the D1 is none of the given above choices. And the correct answer is option B, that is logical. Now, thank you, students. Thank you, students, for your. With this particular narration, you understand that the process of curriculum development, importance of curriculum development, and the steps which are needed for the process of curriculum development. Thank you.